Let's go ahead and hop right into this beautiful bridal makeup look. I think this is going to be a makeup look that will be highly requested for my brides in 2025. I first am going to go ahead and prime the face using the the Sweat Primer. And I am just putting that in her T-zone and, chin, forehead, anywhere that sweat can start to accumulate. And then for a little bit of hydration, I'm going to go in with the Inkey List water cream. I love this stuff and I just love the way it gives that skin the instant glow. And for foundation, I am going to go in with a brush and the NARS Light Reflecting. I'm mixing a couple different shades to make her perfect shade match. So I'm just going in with a brush and just very thinly laying that out onto her skin. This is a full coverage foundation, but I really am not looking for a full coverage beat today. This is something that's a little bit more skin-like, maybe more like medium finish with, you can still see the skin glowing from underneath. So that brush helps sheer that out just a little bit. I do still love a beauty blender, do not get me wrong, but something about a brush, number one, makes it feel a little bit more luxurious for your clients. And number two, it doesn't soak up as much product. And as we continue to add these thin layers, you can tell that it's not going to be too heavy for her skin. Thinning that out with the brush is just going to make it a lot easier to do those layers and it still be light and look and feel for her like skin. And makeup artist, notice how I am starting to apply her foundation down on her chin, like near her jawline, because I really want to make sure that it is matching her neck. Yes, I can start her with her forehead or up on her cheekbone, but if I can start right there at her jawline, that's really going to help me get that instant gratification of knowing that it matches her neck, and we don't have to do as much blending if I go ahead and start down there. I also want to apologize for a little bit of the lighting change throughout the video. We were in front of big windows, so I love the natural light, but as you know, clouds and the sun doesn't always give the perfect lighting at all times, so the sun does start to go down and move around a little bit. But for her contour, I am using the Makeup by Mario shade, I think it's light medium, it's the stick. I am doing that on the back of my hand and then taking that with a brush. I like to put it on the back of my hand first just to kind of warm up that product. The more warm a product is like that, like a cream, the easier it is to blend and work with. And this product is already, very easy to blend, but warming that up just really makes it foolproof and anybody will be able to do it. For concealer, I am using the Hourglass. This is my new favorite concealer, and I am using this with a beauty blender because I am wanting that coverage there underneath the eyes. I love a bright under eye. For the concealer, I like to have it at least 2 shades lighter than the foundation. I also am placing that concealer where I want it before I blend it out all the way. I do the under eyes first, that way the under eyes can dry down as I go to blend in everything else. The longer you let your concealer dry down, I wouldn't let it dry down longer than about 2 minutes or so, but the longer you let it dry down, the more coverage that it has, so you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck there. And the Hourglass, can I talk? English is so hard. The Hourglass concealer the coverage on it is just amazing. So I love to let it build up just a little bit more, especially for underneath the eyes, just because I am a sucker for a bright, smooth, full beat concealer, and Hourglass does just that. After I put that concealer down everywhere I want it, I'm going to go back in with that same beauty blender and work on blending out the edges and taking that up onto the eyelids as a creamy yet tacky eyeshadow base for the eyeshadows. That way the eyeshadows will have something to hold on and cling to. And then we're going to go in with some cream blush. This is the Painted Blush by James Charles. I believe this is in the shade Brown Sugar that I'm working with right now. And then I also am going to go in with a little bit of Pink Drink on the apples of her cheeks just to brighten it up some. And then I'm going to go back in with that same Mario stick for the cream contour for her nose. I love to use a dense angle brush for contouring up the nose. And I go down the sides of the nose, underneath the nose, and then I also blend it up into and underneath that brow bone there. And before we go in and set underneath her eyes, I'm going to take that same beauty blender that I used when I concealed underneath her eyes. And I'm just going to go in and blend, not with any more product, just kind of blend what's there because we haven't set yet. So it's still able to move a little bit. So I'm just going to get rid of that crease before we go in and set. And then I'm also going to contour underneath her lip. That just helps give it that pouty lip effect. And going in one more time underneath the eyes just to get rid of that crease. You can see underneath the left eye now there's no crease. And we're just going to go in with a puff and the Fenty powder in the shade Butter. Love, love, love this stuff. And I'm also going to go in underneath the bronzer just to help brighten it up underneath the bronzer, just to counteract that contour, just to give it a little bit more definition and not look so one-dimensional. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I've got her crease out from under her eyes, and now we're going to set. So look how bright her under eyes are with this powder. My good friend Haley put me onto that powder, and she's always said she'll take it to the grave with her, and now I'm saying the same thing. That powder is amazing. So I'm going to go in underneath her bronzer again here, and you can tell just doing that how much definition it gave underneath her cheekbones. So I'm going in and just lightly setting the rest of the face, not really baking anywhere else, just setting everywhere else that it needs. And now on to eyeshadow. And for eyeshadow, I'm going in with the Master Matte by Makeup by Mario. And I'm just going to take a neutral brown shade in her crease. And I'm also checking and making sure when she opens her eyes, I can still see that transition shade that I just laid. You're wanting it to open up the eyes, not close the eyes. So you want to be able to see it while the eyes are open. If you're just putting it right there in the crease and not slightly above it, blending slightly above that crease, then there's no point of even putting it there. So we're blending that up a little bit into the brow bone, not all the way to the brows. And then I'm going to go in with a darker, a little bit more cool tone brown in the outer half of her eyes, closer to her lash line. And I'm really not bringing that in too far towards the front half of her eyes. I really want to keep the front half very light and bright. That will also help give more of an opening eye, more awake look for her eyes. And then I'm going to go in with a pretty big brush here. This is, again, another foolproof technique. And if you go in with that big brush, it just helps blend seamlessly. And then I'm going to go in with that same Hourglass concealer, but with a even lighter shade for the front half of her lid. Place that down with the Beauty Blender and just look at how eye-opening this is. I love, love, love a bright inner corner. We also are keeping this matte, so after I set that down and blend that out, I'll go in with the two lightest shades in the Makeup by Mario palette and set that inner corner. And like I said, we're keeping it matte. Matte is just very timeless. It's very in right now, and I think it's just a very classic look, and matte personally is my favorite. So we're going to go and brush away any of that extra bake that we have laying on the face and move right into brows. I am using a powder product. That's almost a tongue twister, powder product. Anyway, and I prefer powder, especially for my brides, someone that is looking for the makeup to be a long wear look. And powder really doesn't move around. So I'm going to go in and place a little bit more pigment into her brows, not really adding any more shape, if anything, a little bit more of an arch, but really she has great brows on her own, so I'm really not having to do much work. There might be a little bit of sparse areas. As you can see, I start to brush the strokes in different ways just to see how it lays and see if there are any sparse areas that need that pigment. Brows are also not a one-size-fits-all. Everyone has a different face shape and will need different shaping and coloring, and if they have sparse areas. So really, it's just something that you're going to have to get a feel for. The more faces and the more makeup you do on your clients, the quicker you will get at brows, and you will start to have the eye of what to do and what this particular client needs. I'll clean up just a little bit underneath the brow with some concealer, and I decided to add a little bit more depth into the outer corner. So I just take the darkest color that wasn't black in the Makeup by Mario palette, and I just kind of line her lid and smoke that out with that color. I first laid that pigment down with a dense brush, and I just kept going back and forth between that dense brush and a fluffy brush just to make sure it was all blended out. I then lined her lash line with the NYX, I think it's the ink liner. I love this stuff. It's super black and dries down really matte, which will also help blend the false lashes later on. And then I went in with some Charlotte Tilbury mascara. This is her mascara, so this is why I'm using the wand that the product comes with. So this is hers, no unsanitary things going on over here. But as a artist, if I'm doing someone else's mascara, I have found that this is the easiest way for me and the client not to feel scared for me coming at her eye with a mascara wand. So I'm just going to let her close her eyes, and then I will lift up exactly where I need it to go in with the mascara. And for lashes today, I'm using the Ardell 421s. These are a classic. They are fluffy, they are light, and they are lightweight. And I love that for my clients. They are able to live and breathe in them and not feel weighed down by their eyelash. I am asking, are they poking anywhere? Do they feel heavy? And she said, and I quote, "These are the comfiest lashes anyone has ever put on me." So Ardell, I love your lashes, and they are definitely something that I keep stocked in my kit. I let my lash glue dry down just a little bit, but still wet enough for me to be able to move them around if they are not exactly where I want them. I use the Duo Lash Glue. I love this stuff, but I hate the way it smells. But I will continue to buy it because it literally is the best lash glue I have used. And look how close I got it to her lash line. You cannot tell that these are false. I mean, obviously nobody's real lashes are looking like this, but they are so close to her lash line. They're not distracting, and there's no gap in between the lash band and her lash line. And that is exactly what you're looking for. For bronzer, I'm going to go in with the Makeup by Mario, the powder bronzer, and in the same shade, light medium, and place that everywhere that I put the cream bronzer. And then we'll add a touch more blush in the shade Brown Sugar and Pink Drink again, but the powder version and not the cream. And then we'll add a touch more mascara to blend the lashes into her natural lashes, just to make it a little bit more cohesive. And then we'll also do bottom mascara here. She has great bottom lashes, so we are just doing a little light coat on them, and then we'll move on to lining the lips. And not only is her lips going to be relaxed as I line, I'm going to get her to smile a few times too, because I want to make sure if she smiles, it's not uneven. I want to make sure when she smiles it also is a clean, crisp line as well. This is in the shade BFF by ColourPop. And then I'm going to add a ColourPop gloss. I think it's Juicy. It's a clear gloss, and I think it's plumping as well. And I love a clear gloss over a lippy. And then the last step for her brows, the best brow glue I have ever found, or the best brow gel, whatever you want to call it, is lash glue. Okay, you put it on a spoolie, you brush it into the brows. You have to move quickly, but the brows will not move. And that is all for this bridal look. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something and are able to take something from this. All the products that I used in this video, as well as my socials, will be linked in the description. Bye, y'all. See you in the next one.